Hey guys, welcome back to MILF Era. Okay, today we are getting into how I teach my 6-year-old like intuition, neuroscience, why I do this, all the things, and how you can start to incorporate it in your child's life too. So, obviously, when I'm teaching my daughter these things, it's a very like watered down skill, right? Like, I'm not sitting her down and teaching her a full like intuition lesson, but I am teaching her like how to use it to the best of her ability. And here's the thing, like if I would have been taught at 6 years old how to use my intuition, I'd be unstoppable. I would be fucking unstoppable, right? Because I would have never had to go through the situation of like, oh, only trust the logical side or don't listen to your intuition, because I would have had that whole like deep knowing at 6 years old to trust my intuition. And then on top of that, I'm teaching her like emotional mastery tools, like neuroscience things, the whole shebang. And yeah, if I would have had that at 6 years old, like I can't even imagine where I'd be at. But anyway, that's why I'm here, right? I went through all of these things so that I can teach you guys. I can teach my daughter. My daughter can be unstoppable. But anyway, how we got on the subject is I've always taught her intuition. And I start by telling her how to connect to source. And that's by visualizing a golden energy above your head, filling it with your entire body, right? I'm like, that's how we're connected to source. So anything that you're saying, right, is intuitive. And so now, granted, I give her like step-by-steps to take. You can learn that in intuition level 1. And I also offer that in MILFU. But anyways, so I teach her these like little skills. And so now she knows how to use her intuition and she knows her logical mind versus her intuition, which is really fucking cool because truly that's something that a lot of adults still, struggle with. But so anyway, now she's very like, to be 6 years old, she's very driven and she's very entrepreneurial. One time, this was like in the winter and it had snowed, so we were like, stuck at home, whatever. And the girl's like, Mom, she comes to me with this full plan. I want to sell she has too many toys. So she's like, I want to sell my toys and I'm going to make a website and we're going to sell them online for people to buy them. I'm like, number one, we're not doing that because whose job does that become? Mine. I have to create the website and the marketing and But to be, again, 6 years old and like want to do that, to have that drive to that, I was like, oh, okay, girl. Anyway, so she always tells me, I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to be a millionaire. And I'm like, yeah, you are. But now, so I've taken her highest value. Right now, she's 6. Her highest value is starting her own business and becoming a millionaire. And so I'm like, okay, Tate, well, you want to be a millionaire, you want to have your own business, well, you have to learn how to control your brain. I've started teaching her creator field stuff, right? Like, and I've told her, I'm like, what your thoughts create your reality. I'm like, so when people, treat you bad, let's think about how you're treating yourself bad. And this is in no way excuse that if someone's like treating her poorly, to her to be like, oh, it's totally okay. No, it's not that. It's like taking the moment to look within and see how you're treating yourself that way, right? So if someone's criticizing her, how is she in some way criticizing herself? Now, again, I'm explaining it to you guys a little more higher level than I explained this to her, but I'm explaining to her that, thoughts create your reality. So if you want to create happiness, you have to have happy thoughts. You can't create happiness if you're in the loop of I hate everything, right? And so anyway, I'm telling her, I'm like, okay, I'm like, do you want to learn how to control your thoughts? And she's like, yes. So right now I'm teaching her to neutralize. And what this means is she has very strong emotions right now. She's a Scorpio. I'm sure you've heard me talk about this. A very intense Scorpio. And then on top of that Scorpio, she is an Aries moon. So a lot of intense feelings this girl has. And so anyway, everything that she could possibly dislike or like something frustrates her, whatever, she's like, oh, I hate it. Okay. So what we've started doing is when she says that she hates something, I'm like, okay, I understand that you don't like that and that you hate it and you're frustrated. And so she'll sit there for a second and I'm like, okay, but what's one thing that you like about it? So for example, the other day, she said she hated school and she loves school, but but I get it though, because I'm in a mood, I hate everything too. Like Crystal invited me somewhere, I'm like, no, I don't want to fucking go out to eat. Do I want to go out to eat? Yeah, but you just want to cause a scene sometimes. So like, I get it. So anyway, the one morning, it was afternoon actually. She was like, I hate school. I'm like, okay, I understand that you don't like, she didn't like that she had a spelling test or something. I can't remember. I'm like, okay, well, I understand that. And, those are valid feelings. I don't want to ever make her feel like her feelings are valid. That's not true. But I'm like, well, let's flip it, right? We're learning to control our thoughts. So actually, like, let's take a minute. And what's one thing that you actually like about school? So she sat there for a minute and she was like, well, I like that I get to play with my friends. I'm like, okay, see, you're starting to think differently. I'm like, you had one bad thought, right? And now we're flipping it to the positive and we're seeing how it's actually benefiting us and we're seeing the things that it likes for us. And so she had a light bulb moment and she was like, I like when we have these conversations because it makes me, understand, basically is what she was saying. She said it in kid terms, can't remember exactly what she said. So now it's a game for her and she'll come home and she keeps a list in her head, right, of things that she hates. And so, like, all throughout the day at school, like, maybe she didn't like the assignment she had or she didn't like yoga or whatever. And so she'll come home, I pick her up and she's like, okay, Mom, here's the things I hated today. Now you're going to ask me what I like about them. Okay. So, but I've taught her that she doesn't have to sit in that perspective, because what happens if you're sitting in a perspective of you hate everything, you dislike this, and you had, a lot of people say, oh, I had the worst day. I had such a terrible day. And like, but was it really a terrible day or was it a terrible 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? You know what I mean? But what happens is our brains hyper focus on that and it stays in that like hyperfixation of like bad, and you create more bad. And it plugs into your creator field, right? And then that's what you're matched for. That's what you're creating more of. So this is what I'm explaining to her, right? So whenever, and it's not even about invalidating yourself and not feeling your feelings. Like, feel your feelings for sure. But if something pisses you off, right, sit in it for a second. Okay, I'm at a place where I can neutralize it now. What's something that it taught me? That's my biggest thing, because like maybe I can't always find a like happiness in that moment, but I can damn sure find a lesson that it taught me. And I'll give you an example. This morning, like, I'm not a perfect mom. I know I'm on here talking about all the mom advice, all the things I do, but I'm teaching from a place of like, hey, this happened to me. This is my reflection. Here's how I healed it. And I know that other people go through these things too, right? And so anyway, this morning, actually, Tate, she just woke up. When you just have these days, she's just a girl, you have these days and you wake up just ready to fight everyone. And that was her this morning. I'm also in my luteal phase, so I'm also in the same way. But she was just very like combative this morning. And I was frustrated and I yelled at her. But what happened was I took a step back. I'm like, okay, she's 6. She's just having a morning. And I sat there and I brought my emotions down. I said, okay, what gift is this teaching me? Well, it was teaching me emotional mastery, because I just yelled at her, but I caught myself, stopped myself. I said, okay, let's reel that in. Let's see what this is teaching me. It's giving me the opportunity to have emotional mastery, right? To focus and shift it in the moment versus sitting in it, stirring on it, having a bad morning. You know what I mean? So I got to sit there in that moment and make, okay, well, this is giving me the opportunity to do this. Oh, and it's also showing me I feel she's being combative towards me. So, okay, obviously this is my reflection. How am I being combative in some way to myself? And when I look in on that, I'm having a lot of business ideas, which is great. We love a business idea, but I'm also being combative towards myself, being like, oh, well, I don't know if I can execute this in the way I want to. I don't know if I can execute that to my highest abilities right now. Can I? Probably, but I'm being very combative with myself. So it made sense. And I was like, okay, well, this is actually, my highest value is money. So if I can tie anything to money, I'll shift it in 3 seconds. So I'm like, okay, well, this is actually giving me an opportunity to learn to shift this, which means more money is going to come in the future because I'm learning to shift this now versus sitting in this for 6 months. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I did this morning. And I said, okay. So once and of course I did this in like probably 3 minutes, calmed down. And I'm like, okay. And then I apologized to her because she's having a moment. I didn't need to yell at her. I was triggered for my own reasons, right? So went through it like I just told you guys. And then I said, hey, Tate, I'm sorry. I'm the mommy. It was not nice of me to yell at you for that, for just having emotions. I know you're frustrated and I'm sorry. And I gave her a hug. And I said, mommy is not perfect. Mommy has moments too. I'm just a human. I'm also just a girl, okay? I'm learning, and I'm sorry I shouldn't have spoke to you like that. And she gave me a big hug, and she said, I'm sorry too, Mommy. I'm just very grumpy this morning. Great. So then after that, We chose to go on about our day and have our morning. Now, I could have sat in that shit and I could have been like, this day was the worst day ever because Tate was combative and she was pissing me off and da-da-da-da-da. And I could have stayed in that spiral, and guess what it would have got me? I would have had a terrible day all day because I would have found an excuse to be pissed off for any single reason. And again, I'm in my luteal phase, so it would have been heightened. Like, and maybe it would have been like people just being an inconvenience to me or being rude on the internet or like Chris pissing me off. I don't know. But that's what happens is when you choose to like focus on these things and spiral on them and have these thoughts over and over again, you're plugging it into your career field. You're making yourself a match for these things to happen. But if you have the emotional mastery to be able to go in, figure out your own reflection, how you're being to yourself that way, and you can bring your emotions down in the moment, you don't have to sit in it. It's giving yourself an opportunity to flip the script, say, okay, am I going to let this ruin my entire fucking day? No, absolutely not. And that's what I did this morning. And that's what Tate does too. Right now, again, she's 6, so she's learning it on a smaller scale level. But just think, if you learned these skills when you were 6 years old, you'd be unstoppable. Like, literally. And again, I know the balance in that too. I'm like, damn, I wish my mom would have taught me that. But even I see the balance in that too, because like, well, I actually, I learned the hard way. I actually do fuck around and find out quite often, literally. But by me learning these things and learning, firsthand how the creative field works and how this happens to this and how, postpartum made me feel this way. But you know what I'm saying? Then I have all these tools that I've plugged in and I've mastered. And so now I get to teach you guys. So I very much see the neutrality in it. Like, oh, well, you know what? I had to go through that so that I could teach Tatum. I could teach you guys. I could be on the podcast giving you new tools each week, yapping about whatever I feel like yapping about, So I see the neutrality in that as well. But it's cool too because, we do have soul contracts with every single person in your life. A soul contract is a contract that you make with God, source, universe before ever coming to Earth, right? And it's, who's going to be in your family, the kids you're going to have, your physicality, all the way down to your pinky freaking toenail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Every single thing about you, your traumas, whatever. And so obviously she chose me to be her mom for a reason. We have a contract. And I think it's really freaking cool to think about, wow, like we made that contract and I get to teach her all of these skills at a young age. And does this mean that she's not going to have any trauma ever? No, it doesn't absolutely mean that at all. But what it does mean is she's going to be equipped with the tools to shift out of it so she's not hindered by it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't have to sit in that. She can come to me, and if she doesn't want to come to me, she has her intuition. She has the tools that I've taught her to help her in any situation, right? And I just think it's a very beautiful thing. And then obviously she teaches me a lot too. Like she gives me a lot of growth opportunities because I see the way, just like the way and I've talked about this before, my dad, he's very reactive and he's always yelling. Like, it's just a personality trait at this point. But when I was a little girl, like I was terrified of him. All the man did was yell. And anyway, I very much am like him in a lot of ways, but I've healed it. You know what I mean? Because I don't want her to feel the way I felt in childhood, like terrified of my dad. Now I'm not, like we're besties, it's fine. But like at the time, like a little girl, he's got such a deep voice, like he would raise his voice and I'm like hiding, you know what I mean? I don't want her to feel that way. So it's given me the opportunity to like grow and show me the best version of myself for her, right? And now you guys obviously have soul contracts with your littles as well, and it's the same thing. Like they're teaching you something, you're teaching them something. It's a very mutual beneficial contract, right? Even though it may not feel like it, sometimes it is. And anyway, again, going back to MILFU, that's why I love MILFU. It's teaching you guys all these things, how to utilize these tools, learn new tools, teach these tools to your kids. So, they're setting up for success. But oh my goodness. Sorry, my microphone said it was muted. Like, how rude of you to just mute when I'm talking. So if something cut out, sorry. It probably wasn't important anyway. Anyways, but I'm also teaching her like daily like intuition tools. Like I've told you, I've taught her like specific techniques, but now whenever she wants to do something, we always ask intuition, and it's a fun exercise that we do together. I'm like, okay, well, what's your intuition telling you to do today? Usually it's when we get home from school. I pick her up at 3:30, we come home, she has a snack, and then it's like we hang out a little bit. Maybe we go to Taekwondo, we go play outside. The other day, we went and played outside together, and we played catch. And it sounds silly, but like my inner child was thriving. Like, I mean, think to yourself, really, when's the last time you sat outside and played catch? with your daughter or with anyone really. And I was like, wow, this is actually really fun. We had the best afternoon together. But our intuition told us to do that, right? My intuition was telling me to go outside, and she's like, well, I want to play. And I'm like, great. So anyways, she's been telling me, like, whenever she's at school, she uses her intuition. She's like, and it helps me figure out what games I want to play with my friends. And I love that because what? Again, think to yourself at 6 years old and you're listening to your intuition and your intuition's telling you what games to play. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think it's so fucking cool to just be able to do that. So anyway, and then, oh my God, you guys. I posted like obviously I want a podcast. I'm drawing this out. I'm telling you like all the specifics, but I made like a quick reels, like, a 2-minute reel talking about this. And someone commented and she was like, yes, I love this. She was like, however, I think it's important that you just let her know that sometimes things just suck. Like if she's in an abusive relationship, she doesn't need to find positive reasons about the abusive relationship. And she's 100% wrong. And here's why. So no, to her point, if she's in the relationship, it's not about finding positive reasons why you want to stay. No, but it's about if she, number one, if she is in that situation, having the tools to heal from it. So again, she's not sitting in it for 10, 15, 5 years, whatever. It's getting out of it and neutralizing it. What lessons did it teach you? Because every single thing that happens, there is a gift in it, right? And as someone, I'm not saying this from an ignorant place. I've been in an abusive relationship. I was in that thing for 3 to 4 years. But you know what happened? The day I woke the fuck up and decided I deserved more and decided that I didn't need to be mentally, physically, emotionally abused anymore, that I, again, deserved more than that, my life changed. Because I got angry and I took physical action. Got out of the relationship and ran. So I, at the time, was living in Denton, because that's where I went to college, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's in DFW, like 45 minutes outside of Dallas. And you know what I did? I fucking ran as fast as I could to Washington, D.C., got a whole new career, a fat fucking raise at that. So I think at the time I was in that relationship, I was only working part-time. I can't remember. So I got a fat fucking raise, got my dream career, moved across the freaking country, you couldn't, you know what I mean? Like, I was like Forrest Gump running, you know what I mean? But I did. But that's what I do. Like, I've talked about this before, like, anger makes me take really great physical action. I mean, it makes everyone take physical action, but me personally, like, I'll change my life in 3 minutes, you know what I mean? You make me mad enough, like, everything will be changed. But anyway, all that to say, had I not been in that relationship, number one, my self-image was low, so I would have never been catapulted to heal it. I would have never felt like I deserved more. I would have been very complacent in life. To be honest, I don't think I would have ever left the comfort zone of DFW. Like, my parents are 5 hours away. I had all my friends here. I had my coworker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was so comfort in DFW that Washington, D.C., and I had never been to Washington, D.C. Let me tell you that. Never had been there one time. So I got the job. Me and my mom flew there the next day to find me a place to live. I didn't even know the neighborhoods. I didn't know one single thing about it except it was our nation's capital. And we flew there, found an apartment, signed the lease. And it was a nice fucking apartment. I loved that apartment. Anyway, and then I moved there like 2 weeks later. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I would not have taken that inspired action had I not been in that relationship. And like, that's just a fact. So it's not me being like, it's not about being in the relationship and being like, oh, well, what's a pro about him? No, it's about what did you learn from it? Because every single thing in your life is teaching you the lesson. It's how you choose to view it. So I could have sat in victim mentality and been like, oh, poor pitiful me. I was abused and he talked to me so poorly and he, would get drunk and try to hit me. And do you know what I mean? And yeah, are all those things terrible? Absolutely. I'm not discounting that. I'm not saying they aren't terrible things. I'm not saying they're not shitty. But I chose to view it differently. I said, okay, I got myself the fuck out of it. I said, we're not doing this anymore. I don't know what the fuck you thought we were doing here, but we're not doing it anymore, Moved, and then once I was away, far, far away, far, far away, it's not doing Shrek. But once I was far, far away, it gave me the space, the mental clarity. I was safe, you know what I mean? I didn't have anyone anywhere near me because he, to be quite frank, couldn't afford a fucking plane flight to get there if he wanted to. You know what I mean? Blocked him, didn't even know what, you know what I'm saying? But it's finding the nugget, like the golden nugget. So when she was saying like, no, teacher, it's just sometimes it sucks, like, no. Because does a moment suck? Sure, but you can shift your perspective. And on top of that, like with these tools, it doesn't mean that she'll never have trauma again. It doesn't mean I'll never have trauma again. But it does mean that when you are going through something, you have the tools. So, hopefully I'm giving her the tools and the self-image healing, everything like that, so that she's never in a situation like that. But again, if she is, like, if it's something that, her soul is signed up to go through, then she has the tools to heal it. She's got me because I'm crazy as hell. I don't know who you think you're abusing, but it ain't gonna be my daughter. Can't be outing myself on the podcast like this. No, but really, you know what I mean? Like, I'd go to bat for her, And it's just about, anyway, the whole point of this is about changing your perspective. And this is with any trauma. Like, I've told you guys, I've been raped by multiple different people, multiple different times in my life. And again, I could have chosen to stay in that victim mentality, and I could have been like, oh, men are bad, and da 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 da, and oh, poor pitiful me. Like, this is just my life, and this is just how it has to be because people keep raping me. Do you know what I mean? And again, was it shitty? Yes. Was it a terrible situation? Yes. Would I ever want to do it again? No. But would I go back and change it? No, because again, it catapulted me here. At that time, I was living in my hometown, and my hometown is a small town. Well, I mean, it's grown now, but 100,000 people, oil-filled town. There's nothing there, and everyone that stays in the town does drugs. Or you're pregnant at between 16 and 18 and you've got multiple baby daddies. Again, no shade. I'm just like, that's just literally what happens if you stay after high school in my hometown. And then it's very sad that people get very addicted to drugs and they either end up overdosed and dead, or they end up in rehab multiple times. And anyways, all this to say, when I first graduated high school, I stayed back for a year because I was scared. I was like terrified to leave. My comfort was there. My parents were there. Like, my friends were there. And obviously I had to wake the fuck up and leave eventually, because why would I stay there? And I knew that. I knew, but I was just scared, Anyways, but again, even in that situation, it catapulted me to take physical action. That's how I ended up in Dallas in the first place. I went to Texas Tech for 2 years, some more stuff. Well, so the first time it happened, Odessa, right? Moved to Lubbock, which is only 2 hours away. It wasn't far enough. Some stuff happened again there. Okay, and then I fled to Dallas, went to UNT for college, graduated there, and then, was in another toxic relationship. Why? Because I never healed the root. I didn't have the tools at the time to understand self-image. I didn't understand neuroscience. I didn't understand creative fields. I didn't understand emotional neutrality. And I was very, very much in victim mode. I was afraid of everything and everyone, but like also had this side of me that like doesn't give a fuck. Like, I'm a bad bitch, And all I did was set myself up to be in more situations, circumstances, events that were unsafe for me to be in. Why? Because I felt unsafe around everyone. Anyways, but again, even in that, something that was so shitty and I wouldn't wish upon anyone taught me a lot. And again, how did I get out of it? I got pissed the fuck off, catapulted to DFW, changed my life for 6 months, and then I got into a toxic relationship, and then, I just told you what happened after that. But either way, it catapulted me for more soul growth opportunities. I got different jobs, different friends, and like, I'm very good at pivoting. I'll give myself that, But it's just to this point now, with any trauma, you can even do it to like childhood trauma. It's like, it's not saying that it's not a shitty situation, but it is just seeing how it actually benefited you and finding a golden nugget that you learn from it, So, yeah, I always laugh at myself because Chris, Chris was on here last week, and he's always like, okay, what's the plan? What are we talking about? I'm like, a plan? Who has a plan? I don't plan my podcast. I sit down and I channel and I see what the fuck I want to say when it comes out. Like, the plan? If I planned a podcast for you guys, it would be so dry. It would be bullet pointed, and it would be robotic. It'd be like, today we are talking about your creator field. You know what I mean? It'd be so robotic. But if I'm just like on the fly yapping for my freaking life, you know what I mean? It's more fluid. It's more authentic. We're talking about different things, Also, I have a Breville coffee machine. It's one of the really nice ones. I just bought it in like, I don't remember, like January or February. But it's like a whole like barista situation. And Chris is my barista. Ever since I bought it, he's made me the coffee. So why do I need to learn how to make it if he's making it for me? You know what I mean? So anyway, he's gone. He's in Cabo. He's on a bachelor trip. Love that for him. But I was like, hey, could you possibly make me a tutorial on how to use this thing? And he's like, they're all over YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, but how do you do it? So he made me a tutorial and I was like, great. And he left Wednesday. It's now Friday. And I'm here to tell you guys I still haven't used it. I went to Starbucks yesterday morning and this morning. So I have Tatum, right? I have to wake up. I have to do my face massages. I have to get myself ready. I have to wake Tatum up. I have to get Tatum ready. And then I have to cook us both breakfast. And by the time I'm done with that and we're done eating, it's time to go. And then I'm like, well, I'm already out. So I'll just go get me some Starbucks. And it's been a great time. So sorry, Chris. But maybe I'll try this weekend, Maybe I'll try. Oh, but on that note, I would like to say too, I remember when, I first had Tatum, even the first 3 years, if Chris ever went out of town, work, pleasure, whatever, I would fly my mom in town every single time. I'm like, I could not possibly be alone with my child. It's a lot of work. And don't get me wrong, she has a lot of work for sure. But I have completely reprogrammed in my energy. It doesn't have to be hard. You know what I mean? Do we butt heads like we did this morning? Sure. Did I neutralize it and feel better 10 minutes later? Sure. But it's all about your perspective and how you're choosing to feel. So for the longest time, I was choosing to feel like motherhood was the hardest thing ever. And you guys know this, I resented it and I felt stuck and I felt all these things. And I don't feel that way anymore. And it's because I looked within and I found the beliefs. What happened is I basically wrote down all the limiting beliefs I had in regards towards motherhood in general. And these came up, I doing it alone, what? But no, it's now that I have shifted the belief and reprogrammed it, she's actually very helpful. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm running on fumes, trying to take care of her. She's also 6, right? So she's a little more independent at this point. But I love being home with her, we have our own routine. And if I have to work while she's here, she sets up her own station downstairs and she's got her snacks, her toys, her her iPad, whatever she needs. And then I work. And it's just, but that was not possible until I sat down and really had to look within and be like, okay, why are you resenting motherhood? And so if you're a mom right now, I would challenge, and you're feeling resentful, I would challenge you to write down and just focus on 3. Start with 3. What are 3 things about motherhood that you are resenting? Get specific. The more specific you are, the easier it is to reprogram. So for example, I was it's hard to, run a business and be a mom. It's hard to be the only parent while, Chris travels, whatever. Very specific. And then I rewired it. And for the business one, I'm like, okay, but is it impossible to run my business while also being a mom and she's home with me? No. And how I do this is, I've told you guys this before, the brain loves physical proof. The more physical proof that you can prove the brain, the better. Okay. But for example, I will find women who have their kids at home while they're working and have successful businesses. Amanda Francis, she queen. I fucking love to use her for inspiration, right? I'm like, yeah, she's doing it. If Amanda Francis is doing it, does she have a nanny that helps? Sure, but not all the time. She'll be on camera talking with both kids, or she's even got 4 kids sometimes with her because she has 2 stepkids. In the videos with her chatting, so it can be done. If she can do it, so can I. She'll film the podcast and you'll literally hear her kids playing in the background. So again, if she can do it, why couldn't I? And this is how I start to reprogram. I find people who are living the specific things that I want to be living, doing the things that I want to do. And I'm like, okay, well, it's possible. I just have to figure out how it's possible to me. And then I find phrases that I can emotionally connect to, and I prove it to be true to my brain. So the first time she was here, was it completely flawless when I was working and she was playing? No, but I found moments to focus on okay, well, it was easy because she was able to, set up her situation and I got her headphones so that I could podcast. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. It's choosing to see it differently and choosing to prove whatever you're reprogramming to your brain that it's true, right? Again, the brain loves proof. The brain loves when you emotionally connect, because here's the thing that a lot of people get confused with ingredients or micro-momenting, whatever. You can logically think all the live long day that something is true, but if you're not emotionally feeling it, you're not feeling that emotional feeling in your chest, you're not getting teary-eyed, you're not feeling happy, you're not feeling something when you're connecting to these things, it's not reprogramming your energy. And that's the challenge with this work, but it's also like what moves the needle. You know what I mean? Like you want to feel something, you have to emotionally feel it to reprogram it. And when I first started doing this, like when you're first starting, I will say it's more challenging just because it's something you're not taught. It's new. You're like, what the fuck? Because you're used to just like logically thinking things. You read a book and you logically know it's true. You can logically think something all the live long day. Again, if you're not emotionally feeling it, you're not going to create it. So like I had a client the other day and she was like, logically, I know I'm worth $10,000. She started her own business. She's like, I know I'm worth like making $10,000 a month. She's like, I can't get over making $3,000. When we dug in, she was doing all these ingredients to get her to that point, and logically she was connecting. She was reading her list. She wasn't feeling anything emotional about it, so she wasn't creating it, right? But now, since she's been creating it, is she at her 10K months yet? No, she's only been doing it for 2 weeks, but she's significantly increased her income from $3,000 to $6,000 within that time period, right? All from emotionally connecting. It's all about emotionally connecting. And when starting out, again, it can be challenging because it's something you've never been taught. But I would challenge you to put on a song. Put on a song that makes you feel something. Like for me, is like an EDM song, like a happy, we're upbeat, we're partying, we're, whatever. And while that song is on, I'm reading my list and I'm emotionally feeling it, right? So that's a little hack. You guys are welcome for that little hack. But yeah, it's all about emotionally connecting and emotionally feeling it. And that's what we program. That's how your tongue twister, that's how your creator field gets reprogrammed. Because if you're logically thinking something, it does not reprogram your creator field, right? And what your creator field is everything that you believe to be true. So again, when I thought that being a mom was hard and everything about it had to be hard and there was not one easy thing about it and I resented it all I was doing was creating more circumstances, situations, and events that was proving that to be true to my brain. Why? Because that's what was in my creator field. Now that I have rewritten that, right, it's like coding. I've gone in and I've wrote a new code for my creator field, and that's what vibrates out, right? And so now I'm creating more situations, circumstances, and events that are proving to my brain how much I love motherhood and how much I enjoy it and how much growth I've had. And that's why I'm able to get on this podcast and chat about it on my social media, all the things, because I'm so rooted to it now, right? Now, if you guys would have talked to me 2 years ago, you'd be like, oh my God. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to sit here and say these things. I'd still be in my victim mode. I'd still be in, whatever, my resentful phase. But because I'm emotionally connected to whatever it was that I was trying to reprogram. And again, this isn't something that you do one time and your creator field, it's cured. You've rewritten it all. No, this is something you avidly have to commit to. And some beliefs are like really, really, really deep and they take longer to reprogram. So some things that I'm working on, I've been avidly reprogramming for 6 months. 6 months. And I'm just barely starting to see that reflect in my reality because it takes time. The brain is very stubborn. The brain likes to believe what it already has been believing for the last, how old am I? 33 years. So when I'm trying to reprogram it, it's like, what do you mean? And it takes time. And a lot of people will get, if they don't get the instant gratification, right, in 2 weeks, they're like, oh, this doesn't work. And that's not true. You have to keep doing the work even when it looks like it doesn't working. And then one day, 6 months later, you wake up and you have whatever it is that you've been working on, you're like, oh, holy shit. And then that's a cool moment too, because you're like, oh my God, I cry every time. I'm like, happy tears, obviously, but it's like, oh, my hard work is paying off, right? It's working. Everything that I've been doing, all my ingredients I've been tapping into 2 times a day for the last 6 months have reprogrammed. And that's how I had my biggest month ever in August. And if you would have told me, see, when did I start doing those? Yeah, I started those in March. So that's March. That's 5 months, okay? I'm not good at math. You guys know this. Timelines and math, we're not it. But that's my point. It just it takes time. But I would see small micro shifts, right, along the way to get my big thing that I was manifesting. But it's all about what you're choosing to see. And if you're choosing not to see the small micro ones, again, you're not going to have your big one over here. So anyway, something to think about, guys. I gave you a lot of info today. We talked about emotional mastery. We talked about creator fields, emotionally connecting, motherhood, teaching your kids neuroscience. But that's why I love you guys, We bounce around and we have a great time. So anyways, I hope you guys have a fabulous week. And I'll see you next week on MILF Era. Bye.